Here is something nobody tells you about the last day of school. Everyone is so focused on what's beginning, the summer, the freedom, the exhale after 9 months of alarm clocks and deadlines, that nobody pays attention to what's ending. Nobody thinks to be careful. Nobody thinks to watch. We were 17 and 18 years old, and the last day of junior year felt like the opening of something wide and golden. By midnight, it had become something else entirely, something that 3 of us who were there that night have never fully spoken about. Because some things, when you say them in daylight, sound impossible, but they happened. Every single detail happened. I was 18. I thought I knew my town. I thought I knew the people in it. I was wrong about both. Our town is the kind of place people describe as tight-knit, which is another way of saying everyone knows your business. 1 high school, 1 main street, Friday night football in the fall, summer bonfires at the reservoir. By junior year, I could name the families in most houses. That familiarity was the thing that made us careless. The plan was simple. Last day of junior year, classes out at noon. A group of us would spend the afternoon at Tara's house. Around 9, we drove out to the Mercer property. 15 acres of overgrown farmland at the edge of town, abandoned for 12 years. Everyone went there. Bonfires, end-of-year gatherings. The farmhouse itself was fenced, but the open field beside it was fair game. We got there around 9:15. Maybe 20 other kids already present. A fire going, music from a truck, everything normal. Devin noticed a car around 10. It was parked on the far side of the field, beyond the tree line. A dark sedan. No lights on, engine off. Someone said it was probably a couple looking for privacy, and we all moved on. I didn't move on. At 10:40, Tara and I walked to the portable bathroom unit near the farmhouse fence. It was about 200 yards away. That's when I heard it. From the dark where the car was parked, a sound. Low, brief, mechanical. A car door closing carefully. Tara came out and we walked back to the group faster than we'd walked away. We stood facing the tree line and watched. At 11:15, the fire was dying and the group was thinning. We were collecting our things when Tara grabbed my arm. There was a person standing at the fence. On the farmhouse side, inside the posted property. Dark clothing. Still, just watching us. I called out. The figure didn't respond. Devin turned on his phone flashlight and pointed it toward the fence. Empty. Nobody there. We left. On the drive out, the dark sedan was gone. No lights. No engine sound. Gone. 4 days later, Devin called me. A 15-year-old named Sophie had not come home. She was last seen leaving the field alone. I called the detective. I told him everything. The car, the sound, the figure at the fence. He listened carefully. The owner of the sedan was arrested 41 days later. Sophie was found alive. She came home. The man had been watching the field. Sophie's assumption that she was safe in her own town almost cost her everything. I still live in that town. I am 22 now. The Mercer Field gatherings stopped after that summer. I drove past it last fall. The farmhouse was being demolished. I sat in my car and watched for a minute. The tree line was empty and still, but I kept my doors locked, and I did not stay long.